It's race day at Paul Ricard, the third round of the Blancpain Endurance Series. We started the season, John Watson, at Monza, moved on to Silverstone. Very different affair here. Also a much longer race, not 3 hours, but 6 hours. What do you see going into the event?
Well, 6 hours, believe me, for two commentators is like a 24-hour race is for a race driver. But anyway, I said at Silverstone, as the race was getting underway, you're looking at £18 million worth of the best GT3 cars in the world. Well, we've got the same grid here at Paul Ricard, but I think in terms of the drivers, I think we've got the finest grid of drivers in any GT3 event anywhere in the world here this weekend. It is mind-blowing. And they're probably worth £18 million or dollars or euros, each one of it. It is just an unbelievable entry. It's all in preparation, of course, for Spa 24 hours, a few weeks away. Doesn't take anything away from this race. 6 hours around Paul Ricard, starting in bright sunshine, going into dusk, and ending up the final hour, hour and a half will be in darkness. A magic atmosphere, a magic event, and I can't wait to see it get underway.
So the opening round, the records show that we had victory at Monza for Ferrari, but we all know that Lamborghini were first across the finish line, rejected, disqualified for a technical infringement. Then we had a very tactical race won well at Silverstone by McLaren, but so far here at Paul Ricard, it's Lamborghini all the way.
Well, Lamborghini have dominated Friday free practice, they've dominated qualifying, they're on pole position for the race. Of course, having clear air in the opening laps is wonderful, but inevitably after 5 or 8 laps you'll be catching up to the tail of the field, and that's really where the race begins. It's all about traffic management, keeping out of trouble, but judging where you catch cars and how you get through the slower cars, and also not to put yourself into jeopardy, not to take risks that really, in an early phase of a race, all they can do is spell disaster.
Now, a lot of qualifying was about finding a gap. There was so much traffic, 61 cars here at Circuit Paul Ricard, but the gap between first and second was about a fifth of a second. But then 1 second, the first 1 second covered 20-something cars, so it's incredibly close. But as you say, it's going to be so easy to trip up, hit a bit of debris, have a tyre problem. There's a big element of lottery, but the key is starting at the front.
Well, obviously starting at the front is the best option you can have, but of course, inevitably we will have safety car interventions. Inevitably there's going to be debris of some description on the track. Hopefully that's the worst it'll get, but in doing so that bunches the field up again, and some people will benefit from that. Some will definitely lose, and if you're leading the race and you've got a comfortable advantage, the last thing you really want to do is have to do all the hard yards all over again to build back up that advantage that you've already worked hard to get. 6 hours around Paul Ricard, I don't think it's ever been done before in a GT3 race. It's new territory for everybody. It's going to be great.
It is going to be great. We've talked though about Lamborghini, we've mentioned McLaren. What chance Bentley, Nissan, Ferrari?
Well, at the minute we've seen strong performances from Nissan, we've seen strong performances from Bentley. Regrettably, the HTP Bentley Vincent Abril's time has been disallowed. There was an infringement in qualifying. They didn't get to do a timed run in the first of the 3 qualifying segments, so they regrettably will start at the back of the field. And that was a competitive car that would have definitely been in the top 3 in terms of race pace. It's having to start at the back of a 63 car field. It's going to take him the best part of 2 hours, maybe longer, to get anywhere near to the front of the grid, and he may never manage it.
Now, talking about the various manufacturers, I held one back because I want to talk, John, about BMW. They brought in some stellar lineups, including Alex Zanardi, who's come along this weekend, and he's got a really strong crew with him.
Well, Alex Zanardi, of course, paraplegic race driver. First of all, he's going to be allowed an additional crew member on the pit lane to assist with his exiting and entering the car. And then you've got Bruno Sprengler, the star of DTM, alongside in that car. I mean, it is, first of all, it looks like a stealth car. It's in that sort of matte graphite carbon fiber color. Whether that'll make it through to the top 6, the top 10, hard to tell. But certainly it's an interesting, Alex Zanardi doing an endurance race where he's got to exit the car and then get back into it again. Now, whether they put Alex in at the start or he goes in for the 3rd stint and try and manage it, but it's all down to the team. It's a big, big responsibility, a big pressure on Alex to manage to do that and not lose time in the pit lane. So that's the gamble they're taking, but he's got great backup with his co-drivers.
Well, that's the number 9 car brought by SRO Motorsports, but we also have Marc VDS coming along with one of your favourite drivers in this series, Maxime Martin, who was so strong in the opening sprint round at Nogaro.
Well, whatever you put Maxime Martin in, if you wanted any one driver to drive your car in any SRO, Blancpain Endurance Sprint event, he's got to be in your top 3. I mean, there's so many here, there's not room for them all in the top 3, there's about a top dozen. But certainly Maxime Martin, a class act, a stunning race driver. Put him in anything, he's competitive. We saw him win in Nagaro opening round of the Sprint Series at Easter time. And that's another car, the VDS BMW with Maxime Martin behind the wheel, going to be on my top 6 list.
Well, that's top 6 from 60. We can't wait for the race. And looking at the sky today, I think it's safe to say rain won't be making an appearance. But as we saw yesterday, the wind does tend to come up in the afternoon. It will affect cars around the circuit. So many variables. But right now, if you're in a Lamborghini, you're looking pretty good.